Hey everybody, how we doing? I'm coming back again with another, another intro video here for Everyday People's podcast. Just another trial run here. Just kind of throw out a topic. This time, it's been about a week and a half, something like that. And this time I'd like to talk about just things, material things. That would be a topic I'd like to explore at some point as well. We place a lot of value on the things that the things that we buy, the things that we want to buy. It could be small items like trendy things, like phones or something like that. It could be clothing, anything, shoes, whatever, or it could be big expenses. My wife and I are getting ready to buy a house, so uh, that's a that's something that requires a larger investment, obviously, than something you could just go into a store and buy. But still, it's something you're putting your effort into, something that you're putting a lot of value into. And obviously, everybody needs a place to live. We need shelter, but you know what? What's the line between necessity and extravagance, right? So it's a funny equation sometimes, but just our focus on things, basically. And the thing that kind of brought it up for me. Hold on just a second. I adjust some things here. The thing that kind of There we go. All right. The thing that kind of made me think of it is a good friend of mine who, well, I've always been friends with this family, and I've become friends with him more closely over the last couple years. He he grew up next to me. His dad was like my kind of like my role model as a kid, and he lived with his parents, so my friend's grandparents, and they were our neighbors, for next door neighbors for 6 years of my life, and just nicest people. I'd always go next door and sit on their porch, and they'd make tea, and it was so good, and it just felt just felt like home because maybe it was my just being a kid, and that's just a memory you have. And one one day I was in high school, and we had this. It was a really cool thing. It was a retreat, and this kind of ties into the material stuff too. Um, Senior year in high school, we had a retreat, and it was at a little church center, probably 3 miles from our school, and we had it was a week long, and there were four different groups that went, and I was in the first group that went. Like I went in fall, and another group like there was like one at the beginning of winter, one at the end of winter, and one in spring. And so I got to go in the one that was in fall. So, we're still able to go outside. It's nice out. It's warm enough, and um, we had I think it was Monday to Friday, and the whole concept was we're on God's time. We're not on our time. So there's no back then this is like maybe a couple years before cell phones really became a big thing. I think maybe a couple people had some kind of device. Everybody had their pagers and stuff. I never never really got into that. But never really wanted to be bothered, I guess, or not that many people wanted to bother me anyway, so it was easy enough. But there were, everybody. You couldn't have your phones, you couldn't have your pagers, you couldn't have your cameras. weren't really a huge thing. Couldn't bring a computer, that kind of thing. But I don't even think we weren't even supposed to have a watch. That was the other thing. So it was like we're on God's time. We can't even look at what time it is. We would ask like the retreat leaders, what time is it, and they wouldn't tell us. We're on God's time. So the whole idea was to just kind of erase um, these constructs that we're used to. And so it did. It kind of took out the things, the material aspect of life, and we were to focus on more spiritual matters. It was really cool. I really got a lot out of it. But the thing that was kind of the turning point for, I think, just about everybody in the retreat, because the first day was kind of, what are we doing? This is kind of silly. It's kind of goofy. We've got a couple people. like we have a teacher that would go up and do a little speech. They'd have a song they would introduce to us, and then they would speak on some kind of subject. And the first day it just seemed kind of goofy. It almost seemed the transition was a little too strong. So I think it was the second day at night, I think, and we went into this little chapel area, and everybody read off um, a couple of the retreat leaders would read off they started reading off these letters, and it was a letter for each person in the retreat. And I think they read off a letter. They read off a letter from my mom, which was a really good, a really touching letter. But uh, each person got, it was either mom or dad's letter was read off. So then after that was kind of touching. Everybody laughed. Everybody got kind of emotional, and it was interesting. That was a turning point. And then they told us to go back to our dorm rooms, and we each dormed with one person, so we each had like a roommate. And I went into my dorm room, and everybody on their bed had like this envelope, and in the envelope were like a big, whatever those um, tan envelopes, like the larger ones, and inside had just countless letters from people. And one of the letters that I received was from my friend's grandmother that I was talking about before, my neighbor, and she wrote a very touching letter. And then at the very end of the letter, she had a bunch of quotes that she had either gathered over the years or just little tidbits of wisdom that she'd always kind of collected. And so she wrote all these quotes at the bottom. It was like a full page almost of just different quotes, and scattered in different directions. It wasn't that part was kind of cool. It was just kind of quotes everywhere. And one of the quotes that she said that sticks with me still is, "The most important things in life are not things." And it just kind of that hit me a few days ago, and I kind of thought on that for a little bit and reflected. She has passed now, but I speak to her grandson a lot, and every time she comes up, he always says she was the best woman in the world, and my mom would probably say the same thing. My mom always adored her, as did I. She was great, but that quote really hit, still does, and so it kind of makes me reflect on what we value in life. Obviously we're going through getting a house. I mean, that's a valuable thing right now, but why is it valuable? It's valuable because my wife is going to feel content, and we'll have something settled, and our cats and kids that are to come, hopefully. And so all of that stuff would be the reason why, not because we get something that's financially valuable. That's a nice thing to plan on. My wife's a little bit more into planning those things than I am, as far as what she's looking ahead very much so on the financial front. Buy something that's valuable for us, that we can make money off of, and that we can that we're investing in ourselves. Basically, we're not throwing money away. So good stuff. But why do we value things so much? Why is it that we're chasing something all the time? Why are we drawn to material as much as we are? And that's something I went through about back about last winter. My wife and I both got sick and got COVID at the same. I got it right before she did, and then she got it, and but it kind of caused us to. We had to quarantine for one, and I think it was around that time, maybe just after. But I watched this video. It was called Minimalism. Was the whole? I think that's the name of the documentary, and it's about these two guys that were. I can't remember what world they were. I mean, like what field they were working in, but financial, and they got out of it, and they pulled back and went to a more minimalist lifestyle, and they showed how they could pretty much move and like a bag or two, which I looked at that and thought, gosh, I mean, I've done it when I've lived abroad and stuff like that, but all of their stuff, like they got rid of everything. And they talked about the real meaning of financial freedom being not that you can buy whatever you want, but that you're free from the need to buy things. And they have no problem saving their money and putting their money away. There's no temptation on their part to buy something. I mean, there may be temptation, but they know better. They're not going to do it. And everything that they keep has value, and they can tell you the value of everything that they have. And that's another thing that I find important. I look at around the things that I have, and if it doesn't have value to me, why am I holding on to it? I don't need it. I don't want it really, because we're about. I definitely won't want it when we're about to move, and it's like, where are we going to put this? And I don't know exactly where to put it. not in the house. So, a lot of those things that we focus on, and it's strange because we'll spend a lot of time to acquire that thing, and then we get it, and then we no longer want it because you don't, by definition, you don't want something you already have. You no longer lack it. So, but is it fulfilling? If you have it and it's fulfilling, then it's a good thing. It's valuable. But if you have it and it's not fulfilling, then why have it? Why even waste the energy to acquire it in the first place? And I look at the situations that I've been in where it's, if I were to cut back on 50% of the things that I had, would I be in a better spot? And the answer a lot of times is yes. And so then it's like, okay, well, let's get to it. Let's start finding some things we don't need, and let's take them to Goodwill or sell them off or whatever the next step would be. But again, the most important things in life are not things. So what are the most important things? What are the most important things in life? And that's a question that I could ask. What are the most important things in life? They're various, and what the answers could be. Could be, obviously, people would come to mind. Your outlook on the world, maybe. Being able to appreciate life itself, just being able to enjoy a sunny day or whatever it is that whatever it is you find gratitude in. But yeah, relationships with people could be a really important one. And those are the kinds of things that get you kind of put those off on the back burner when you're trying to chase something. And is it really worth it? I think maybe that's why people do it, because you chase the thing and it doesn't love you back. But it also doesn't make you feel bad. Sometimes in the relationship with a person, you feel like it's such an investment of time, and people are complex, and why not just divert my attention to something that's just going to make me feel good. It's not going to make me feel bad, but it's going to make you feel good, and then it's going to make you feel unfulfilled after that. Because it's going to make you feel great when you get it, and then it's meaningless after that. So when you find yourself in a situation that's a little bit more intense, or a situation that's a little bit more demanding of your energy, you start to realize what you can do without. And it's a lot of things. You can do without a lot. But you also start to realize what you can't do without, and that's an important moment as well. So, yeah, I don't know. I would love to hear different answers on what people find as important in life. For me, I think relationships with people are very important in life. I don't need to have many. I have my wife and my family and my friends, and that's enough for me. Obviously, I want to have some business relationships and stuff like that, but they don't need to be too possessive of my time, because I've had that before too, and then those go away, and then It's almost like the toy I wanted. Once it's gone, I might not. I'm on to the next one anyway. So, uh, time management and energy management. Making sure you know where your energy is going, and uh, kind of pulling back a little bit and reflecting, re-examining, and refocusing on just kind of calming down and allowing yourself to feel and sense what's important and what's not, what's necessary for your life and what's not. But yeah, when serious things happen, you start to think about that, and not just think about it, but you really start to understand. Oh yeah, that's not a that's not as serious a deal as I thought it was. Why was I stressing out about that so much? I've neglected, you know, this, that, and that, and is it why? I mean, those are the important things. Those are the things that come back to me when I need something, or when I'm really, I don't want to say desperate, but yeah, when times are tough. So yeah, again, I'd like to hear what people think is important. I think it's important to have uh, good people in your life. I think it's important to value the people in your life and just be grateful for the life that you have. I think that's a very important thing, just being grateful. Sometimes things seem really difficult. Sometimes they really are difficult, but it's almost just as important to pull back and appreciate that you have those problems, because they're not the worst problems in the world. There are other people who are going through problems that are unfathomable, um, from my perspective, and from a lot of the people from many people's perspective, they couldn't even fathom the sorts of things that other people might be going through. So be grateful for the problems that you have sometimes. And it's a hard lesson, because when you're having the problem, it doesn't feel like something you want to say thanks for. But maybe it is. Maybe it is something that. The other thing is, like, you can handle it if it's something that's in front of you. It's given to you, so it's given to you for a reason, because you can handle it. And if you can't handle it, something will happen to get you through it. Um, I think that it's important to laugh too. I just sometimes I just like to watch comedy and just laugh. Talk to friends and just have a laugh. It doesn't have to make any sense. It usually doesn't. It's sort of the best part, because I mean, does life usually make sense? Yeah, sometimes things sort of add up, but a lot of times those patterns, you get a curveball. It doesn't come right down the middle. So um, anyway, I know I've rambled a lot here, but again, it's just something. It's a topic I'd like to really focus on at some point too. Maybe we could have a guest or something like that, and talk about what's important in life, different perspectives on life. Maybe what's important to this person is going to be different from that person. But why? Is it material stuff that's different, or is it the deeper meaning of life that's different for certain people? And I think sometimes the deeper meaning can be different. There are people that I've met that I still stay in contact with, and it's just like we get to talking about something, and I go, look, we just might have different values. It's not a bad thing. We just value different things in life. That's all. Um, it's very normal. It's a common thing for people to have a different, um, different gauge on what's significant in life. We all have different experiences, so why wouldn't we have a difference there as well? But yeah, that's it. The most important things in life are not things. I think that uh, it still rings pretty soundly to me. So thank you for that great bit of wisdom, my neighbor, and I will try to carry on that message and live it out as best I can. I talked to your grandson. He's one of my favorite people. So, uh, yeah, thanks.